Where shall we go today? Where shall we go? Where do you want to go today? Let's visit
Rugby! This is Rugby Tower. It's in the centre of Rugby, and this is where they used to hang naughty people, like children who didn't eat the tea, or people who didn't like fried rice. This medieval church, which has also got very old bits and new bits all stuck together. It's lovely inside, but even better still, it's very close to Peacocks, where there's a 70% sale on right now. Sadly, it's open. Unusually for a pedestrianised area, Rugby does allow cars in the pedestrianised area, even going past Yum Yum World. They even have posh charity shops like this one, which is the British Heart Foundation shop. It also has this lovely library section here with books and DVDs and things like that. The medieval building behind me is very, very famous. Sadly, no one knows really what for, other than it's very big and medieval. Amazingly, Rugby still has a bank. And even more amazingly, it's a TSB bank. I didn't even know they were still going. So there you go. It's all ancient history here in Rugby. The pedestrianised way isn't very pedestrianised. Cars still go up and down it. All the time. There are many traditional businesses here in Rugby, but to be fair, most of them are cobblers. Many shops in Rugby opened in the 1600s, and this is one of them. This area has been completely untouched by time, or anything else for that matter. And more importantly, there's never been any Victorians here. The city of Rugby was called Rugby because of the game rugby, although there's no rugby team here or rugby players to play rugby, but there is a massive rugby ball which has been graffitiised by people. Despite the lack of a rugby team, Rugby and Rugbytonians are very proud of the heritage of rugby. They've even got balls everywhere, although slightly oval shaped. In this rather splendidly 70s shopping centre, they have all mod cons, including a sex shop. The roundabout in Rugby, because of course there is one, is full of topiary. That's where you cut bushes in a fancy way. It's not as nice as some other roundabouts we've seen on our travels, but it's the first topiary roundabout, the topiary roundabout of Rugby. Rugby was built on history, including steam trains and kilns and whatever that is, and canals and other stuff as well. And they're so proud of it, they built a little wall hidden away. Behind me is a tribute to the father of jet engines, Sir Frank Whittle even. When I first saw it though, I thought it was something to do about drug taking. Like every city of its perceived status, Rugby also has a park quite close to the city centre. It's quite beautiful, but oddly, it's shaped like a slice of pizza that's gone off. That's very odd. No matter where you stand in Rugby, the beauty of the architecture is astounding. The courthouse pub opposite is so called because, unlike the old courthouses that you see, which used to be courthouses and then were turned into pubs, it's still a courthouse. However, with such little crime in Rugby, they actually let the people who drink there decide the fate of the people who break the laws. So there you go, the courthouse of Rugby. The sign says this way to quality shopping. Well, I'll be the judge of that when I get through this tunnel. Having walked through the tunnel, it goes very narrow and has a sign above it saying 1901. And to be fair, I feel like I've ended up in 1901. This is a very bizarre place. It's like a rabbit warren of tunnels and shops and things. Sadly, everywhere's closed at the minute, so it's not great shopping, at least not at the moment. This fancy dress shop's only got one costume left, and that seems to be for the Invisible Man. Here we've got the Rugby Theatre, which is ironic because the door of it looks a little bit like a rugby ball that's kind of stuck in the ground. But then again, we are in Rugby, what do we expect? If you want to stay in Rugby, there's a nice hotel here called the Alma Lodge Hotel, named after Alma, a much-loved character from Coronation Street who's left about 20 years ago. So you probably never heard of her. Here I'm on Bank Street, which ironically doesn't have a single bank on it, or a river, or a canal, but it does have Bar 8, which is where you can play bar, pool and snooker, although I don't know what the game bar is. Here we have the Bank Restaurant and Bar, which is open today on a Sunday. It's completely empty, but that's because everyone knows that banks don't open on a Sunday. Change the name. Idiots. Next to the now sadly closed Shadow Games is the Money Shop. Or is it the Money Shop? Because the sign's very confusing. It actually says the Money Shoppings or the Money Shopped. I don't know what I could confuse a simple person. I think that might be why I'm confused. far from the medieval church is another medieval church. This is St Andrew's Church House, though sadly now it looks like it's derelict. Here we have another lovely park, which I think could do with maybe a crazy golf course there or some swings or slides. That is until I realised it's actually a churchyard, which is only half full because the people of Rugby, well, they just go on forever. There is a lovely field here, which is very nice. I don't know what they could use it for though. I think maybe that crazy golf course I was on about before. If you like walking down alleyways, which kind of lead nowhere and go from nowhere, like the old churchyard back there, you could do a lot worse than come to Rugby. Mind you could do a lot better, but you could do a lot worse. Obviously, like everywhere else, Rugtonians, they love a drink. So there are pubs everywhere, and they're all really, really old. Although I trust the beer's quite a lot younger. This pub here is called, well, doesn't tell you. It's an invisible pub, a bit like what we saw at the fancy dress shop. But Rugby has inspired many people, for example, Thomas Hughes, who's got a statue, so he must have done something fantastic. It's not inspired Banksy. Oh well. Like many cities that are as big as Rugby, parking is quite cheap. There are some places that will charge only 70p an hour, and this one here, you can park up to 2 hours for £1. Now, I will tell you where this car park is, but I'm not going to do that because it's such good value that if you ever come back to Rugby, I want to park here myself. I don't want you lot here, do I? Until next time, bye.
Where shall we go today? Where shall we go? Where do you want to go today? Let's visit.